We are absolutely, well, we're live at the moment, but we're recording this podcast for future endeavors, right? Going to talk Jaguars, college football. Try to be quick. North Florida entertainment. Jacksonville Jaguars got the preseason coming up. Training camp getting underway. Rookies are reporting. Veterans are getting set to report. July 24th is when training camp. And July 24th and even July 25th is when training camp will be open to the public. You got to go online to, I believe, jaguars.com to register, as that's the way it's been the last few years. I'm not going to delve into the preseason schedule. There's 3 preseason games. Trevor Lawrence, my guess, will play in one of them to keep him away from any possible tweaking of any kind of injuries or new injuries, but I think he'll play maybe a quarter and a half in one game. Could be more, could be 2 games, but probably one game, a quarter and a half, I would say. I could be wrong. Depends on how much he's got to work on things. There'll be practices before the NFL preseason games. So, Trevor Lawrence, you got a pretty good quarterback room too. You got Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, and C.J. Beathard. Defense is going to be vastly improved. It should be. You got a new defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen. He's chomping at the bit to get out there and put these guys in the best possible position where their talent will prevail. We're talking about big money guys, rookie guys on the 3rd year of their deal. It's going to be interesting. Josh Hines-Allen, that's what he goes by now, right? Josh Hines-Allen. Josh Hines-Allen. Josh is getting $88 million guaranteed, which absolutely means that he's been taken care of. How will he play on the big money? That's always a question when a guy gets. Josh Hines-Allen has been with the Jags a few years now. Outside linebacker. I like to call him an outside linebacker / defensive end. He was born. He's 27 now. He's moving into the prime years on a huge new contract. His 2nd contract with the Jaguars. He was born in Cumberland, Virginia. Played linebacker and was an absolute tackling machine in college, in probably the best football conference in all of college football, the SEC, when he played at Kentucky. Went to Montclair High School from Cumberland, Virginia, United States. Born July 13, 1997. So he's just recently turned 27 years of age. Josh Hines-Allen. I think Josh Allen has proven himself as an edge rusher, 17.5 sacks last year. He seemed to stack up the stats a little bit against Carolina, but other than that, had a great year. 17.5 sacks. Trayvon Walker with 10. That's 27.5 sacks between those 2 guys. You got a new free agent coming in there, Eric Armstead, who's going to get a few sacks, pushing the pocket up front. Devin Lloyd, I'd love to see him get a handful of sacks too. So you might see a big sack of potatoes this year, a lot of sacks. Who coined the term sack? Well, that was a guy that played for the Rams, right? Who coined the name sack? Who coined the name sack? We know who it was. His name always escapes me, though. Played in the 70s, 60s. Played when I was a kid coming up. That's Deacon Jones. Deacon Jones, Pro Football Hall of Fame. David Deacon Jones, Pro Football Hall of Fame defensive end, who coined the term sack. Deacon Jones, and there's a lot of famous people that you think, man, did that guy pass away? Or is he still around? Deacon Jones passed away based on what I'm seeing here in 2013. He was a class of 1980 inductee and apparently passed away back in 2013. So that's been a while. He was a, listen to this now. He was a, let me make sure that I'm right on this. Is this right? Is this right? I don't know if this is right or not, but I can verify this. I'm going to try to verify this. This is pretty cool. Let's see. Well, Deacon Jones was born in 1938, lived to 2013. By the way, this is Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 45, number E, 45E. We're going to hang with 45 for a while because I'm saluting Carlos Alvarez, number 45. He wore 45 with the Florida Gators, late 60s, early 1970s, played wide receiver for the Gators, was on the Super Sauce with John Reeves, and John Reeves a quarterback, and running back Tommy Durrance, and some other really good football players. You know, when we talk about the sack, man, I always think about Deacon Jones because he coined the term. This is an NFL statistic now. That was not an NFL statistic in the very, very early days of the National Football League. And Deacon Jones coined the stat. He had a teammate named Rosie Greer, who I interviewed a few years ago, actually. I ran into Rosie up in Georgia when I ran the radio station up in Western Georgia, did an interview with Rosie. He was you remember the old TV show, The Love Boat? He was actually the chef on the Love Boat. So he had been an actor, pro football player, talking about Rosie Greer. But talking about Deacon Jones, I saw something about Deacon. I don't believe he was a first round pick. So, everybody, that was back in the day. I think was the AFL around then. So I guess they were investing picks a little differently back in the day. This guy was a Hall of Famer, though. Deacon Jones. David D. Deacon Jones passed away June 3rd of 2013, was born way back in 1938. This guy was born in Florida, Eatonville, Florida. He passed away out in California, Anaheim Hills, California. That makes sense, though, because he played for the Rams, he played for the Chargers. He did have a cup of coffee with the Redskins in '74, which I believe was his last year. And I guess I remember Deacon Jones when I first started watching NFL football in the early 1970s, but he started well before I was around. He started before I was born. Deacon Jones played for the LA Rams, 61 to 71. The San Diego Chargers, they were known as the San Diego Chargers back then. Now they're the LA Chargers, but he played for the San Diego Chargers from 72 to 73. Washington Redskins, 1974, iconic name. The Washington Redskins, how they could even change that. But, everybody's got their slant on things, I suppose. He played college football at a couple different places, played at South Carolina State and Mississippi Valley State. Get ready for this. Deacon Jones, Hall of Famer. The guy that coined the term sack, he just wanted to grab that quarterback and put him in, take him down like a sack of potatoes. I think that was kind of the theme. And he coined the name sack. And I thought I saw something that Deacon Jones was an 8th round pick. Deacon Jones was picked in the 14th round, pick 186 overall. There was less teams back then. 1961, he was drafted before I was born. I did see Deacon when I was a young kid, and I remember him playing. I don't remember him so much playing for the Chargers and Redskins, but I do remember a couple of years in the early 70s when he played for the Los Angeles Rams. He was a 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year. This is a 14th round pick. All Pro, Looks like all pro every year from 1965 to 1969. Second team all pro in 64, 70, and 72. NFL sacks leader. That makes sense. 1964, 65, 67 through 69. NFL 1960s all decade team. Deacon Jones, who coined the name sack. And now they use it. Josh Allen had 17 and a half of them, right? Josh Allen absolutely had 17 and a half sacks last year in 2023. Trayvon Walker had 10. Trayvon needs to become more of a dominating player, obviously. And I hope he will. He got Devin Lloyd moving into his third year. What I would do with coffee, I don't know. Without that coffee, my goodness. And I appreciate the coffee boy pouring me a cup and handing me a cup this morning. I appreciate that. By the way, good morning or even good evening, depending on what time zone you guys are listening in, to my executive producer, JC. Jumbo Shrimp, they had a game rained out on Friday. It looked like they played 2 on Saturday, but there was a substantial amount of rain in Jacksonville. There had to be rain delays out there off and on. During the summer, it dries off quickly, and they got a good ball field at the Financial Ballpark. What is it, 121 Financial Ballpark in Jacksonville. Beautiful place. I need to go out and see the Shrimp play. Alex Nunnery, BigJReport.com sports reporter Alex Nunnery was out there. Hopefully we'll get some reports from Alex, or I can do an interview with Alex in the coming days. Working on interviews with some of the semi-pro football players. And so we're going to have an interview sooner or later. So stay with us with the content. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp now 45 and 49. I got that on the scroll at the bottom. The Shrimp swept the Durham Bulls in a makeup game doubleheader. Let's see, the Jumbo Shrimp winning both ends of the doubleheader 3-2 and 6-4 over the Durham Bulls at home here in Jacksonville, Florida at the 121 ballparks. That's what's going on in baseball. Meanwhile, you talk about the Jags defense. You talk about Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker. Some of these really, these are big time parts on your defense. Trayvon Walker moving into his third year. Guy out of Georgia, 10 sacks last year. 17 and a half sacks for Josh Allen. Josh Allen was in the top 3 or 4 in NFL sacks in 2023. And that kind of helped him earn the huge contract, $88 million guaranteed. Also, Eric Armstead going to play the big defensive end, and he's a guy that kind of pushes the pocket. He'll rush the quarterback some too, but he's going to really play good inside, and that's what you need. DeJuan Smoot is no longer a Jaguar. He went to the Buffalo Bills. They're going to love him in Buffalo. I really believe that. Our executive producer, JC, is a big Buffalo Bills fan. So they will absolutely love DeJuan Smoot. He's one of my favorite players. Still in his prime. I think DeJuan is like 29 years of age, I believe. We're not going to talk about the preseason. There are 3 preseason games coming up. You'll see Trevor Lawrence playing at least one of them, I believe. Probably going to see a lot of Mac Jones, and you'll see some of C.J. Beathard. Maybe they cut Beathard. That would be my guess. Maybe they trade one of those guys. If they traded a guy, Mac Jones had just a lights out preseason camp. Do you want to keep him in Jacksonville? You probably do. But you could trade him too if C.J. Beathard's, you're okay with him as a backup. He's a pretty good backup. He won that game over Carolina. The only game, I guess that was the only game, I believe, was that the only game Beathard started? Was it 26-0 victory over Carolina in 2023? The schedule for the Jaguars in 2024, September the 8th at Miami, September the 15th at home against Cleveland. Boy, these are tough games right off the bat. At Buffalo, Monday night game, September the 23rd. And then you go to These are the first 4 games. September 29th at Houston against C.J. Stroud. Great up-and-coming quarterback moving into a second year. The defenses are going to have to figure out how to stop C.J. Stroud. That is actually the first division game. The first 3 games are not division games. At Miami, Cleveland at home on the 15th of September. That's a home opener, September the 15th. Jaguars hosting the good old Cleveland Browns at Buffalo, September 23rd, Monday Night Football. Sunday, September the 29th at Houston. Then in the 5th game, we'll stop at the 5th game, October 6th. Jaguars hosting Indianapolis. And then that Bears game, we'll continue with one more. The Bears game, October the 13th, versus the Jaguars versus Chicago will be in London, as I understand it. So that's some of the early part of the schedule. We do want to talk college football today on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. The conferences are changing. I told John Gaylor. John Gaylor kind of knows my feeling about college football. I'm not really been happy with the new era of college football, the NIL deals, the immediate transfer portal. But there's some good games coming up for college football fans. I did admit to John, all of a sudden I'm getting a little bit more interested in it from the standpoint of what's going to happen. You know, you listen to Billy Napier at the SEC Media Days and his addressing the media and talks about Florida's got 17 starters coming back. But I will tell you this, the schedule for Florida is brutal, particularly the last 5 games. And we're not going to dwell on that right now. But Florida wins close games, finds a go-to wide receiver that can exceed expectations. I think they can win 7 games. They go 5-2 the first 7, 2-3 the last 5. You got to win some close games to go 7-5. I think for Florida. If Napier wins more than 7, if he wins 80, he could be SEC Coach of the Year. We'll see what happens. Or it could slide the other way. You lose close games, right? The Miami game could be a close game on August 31st. Kickoff at 3:30 on ABC. They'll win the Samford game pretty easily, I think, in week number 2. And then Texas A&M's kind of maybe a pick 'em. And that is a home game in Gainesville. You know, the home field will probably make it a pick 'em. Texas A&M, by some accounts, some of the books or publications or media outlets actually, I think, like Texas A&M a little bit better than Florida as far as the standings go, or the predicted standings. So I think Florida goes 2-0, and then that third game, man, that's going to be crucial. Very crucial for Florida. There's a game, coming up not too long after that with UCF. You got Tennessee mixed in there, and Tennessee's going to be favored over Florida. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And the last 5 games on the schedule are extremely brutal. And Coach Billy Napier's got to win close games. He's got to find a go-to wide receiver. The defense has got to be improved. And the quarterback room, injuries, can't have any. And then Florida's got a chance to go 7-5. How about that? How about those apples? Conferences, I think on one of the previous podcasts, we talked about the ACC, all the new teams in the ACC. California dreaming, right? The ACC was dreaming of California, and the California Golden Bears are now in the ACC. This is a conference that's been changing, ever so changing the last several years. They've had more new teams than even the SEC. I'd have to count them up. There's rumors about Florida State leaving, so they're having to bring some new teams in because a team or two may leave. North Carolina, there's been some rumors about them leaving. They're a basketball school, but they play pretty good football too. If I count the ACC teams, let's see what I got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I better start the count over, right? We got Boston College, California, Clemson. Let's see, Pittsburgh. It's like 17, 1-7. So you got 17 teams in the ACC right now. With 16 teams in the SEC, as the SEC has added Texas and Oklahoma for 2024. The Texas and Oklahoma thing is kind of interesting because everybody's known that Texas and Oklahoma they're moving to the SEC, and they've known it for about 3 years. And what did the Big 12 do? They said, "Hey, we're gonna invite some other teams in." Big 12's got UCF in there. We knew about prior to last year, because they went in last year. We knew about UCF and BYU going into the Big 12, Houston, and UCF. This conference is ever changing. Houston, UCF, BYU, Cincinnati also, as new teams that moved in there last year along with the UCF. Now you got more teams coming into the Big 12. Arizona State, Colorado, Deion Sanders' team that he coaches. Let's see who else is new. You still got Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU. But you also have the new teams coming in. And West Virginia's been in there for several years, but not that many. West Virginia moved to the Big 12, maybe a decade ago or so. But now the new teams moving in for this year include Arizona State, and Utah, the Utah Utes. The Pac-12 is now the Pac-2. So the conference really doesn't exist. These teams are like independent, waiting to go somewhere. Oregon State or Washington State, I think they're officially independents. Some of the books, I think the Athlon calls them the Pac-2. Oregon State and Washington State. They're probably, they probably don't want to make a lateral move. But if Oregon State or Washington State could get an invite from the ACC, they would probably go. SEC's got the same 14 plus 2, Texas and Oklahoma. Oregon State and Washington State are still not being called independents. The independents are UConn, UMass, Notre Dame. Conference USA is interesting. Liberty, UTEP, FIU, Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State plays football now. I don't know how long they've been playing. I know they were a pretty good basketball school. In the A-Sun, if they're still in the A-Sun in basketball. But in football, Conference USA, FIU, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State, Liberty, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee, New Mexico State, Sam Houston, UTEP, and I guess it's Western Kentucky University. Big Ten's got, my gosh, the Big Ten. Larry Munson, the Georgia Bulldog announcer, would say, my God, the Big Ten's got 18 teams. Wisconsin, Washington, UCLA, Rutgers hasn't been in there that long, but they've been in there a few years along with Nebraska. I remember one time I saw Nebraska playing Rutgers and it said Big Ten in the middle of the field. That kind of shocked my system a little bit. But Nebraska and Rutgers have been in there, 5-10 years or somewhere in the middle there. Northwestern, you got these old schools that are like, what do you call them? The charter members, like Minnesota, Michigan State, Michigan, Maryland came in about the time Rutgers did. Iowa's been in there for ages. Indiana Hoosiers have been in the, obviously the Big Ten for ages. Illinois, the Illini is in there where, Ron Zook, former Gator assistant. Oh, he was actually a Gator head coach at one time. Ron Zook was a head coach of Illinois a while back. Big Ten's got new members. Oregon moving in there. Washington, UCLA, USC. I tell you what, that's going to be a tough conference. 18 teams. And, the MAC is, the Mid-American Conference. I'm not going to mention all those teams. That's basically those. The MAC is, what are they? What would you say they are? They are mid-major at best, right? It's the same teams in the MAC. Mountain West, a little interesting. Air Force, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Hawaii. Hawaii is still in there. Nevada, New Mexico, San Diego State, San Jose State, UNLV. Utah State, not as big as Utah because they don't really have a stadium, or the town they're in is not that big, but the stadium's not that big. Wyoming Cowboys are in the Mountain West. Sun Belt's an interesting one. Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. James Madison's been on the move and rising in college football. They just moved up to the higher level, I think, last year. So they weren't really eligible for winning a conference or anything. James Madison, Marshall, Old Dominion. The Marshall Thundering Herd. Remember the movie, We Are Marshall? That was a good movie, too. I like that. With, what's the guy's name? McConaughey. Old Dominion playing football in the Sun Belt as well. They've got an East and West in the Sun Belt. I didn't know that. We're getting educate me now, right? There's an East and West in the Sun Belt. I didn't realize that. Eastern Division, Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. Georgia State hasn't been playing football that long. What, maybe 15 years or something? I could be wrong on that, but they've been playing football maybe 10, 15 years or longer. Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern Eagles, Georgia State, James Madison, Marshall, Old Dominion. These are Division I schools, but definitely mid-major, maybe lower mid-major. Western Division of the Sun Belt, Arkansas State, Louisiana Raging Cajuns, where Coach Billy Napier used to coach. South Alabama, Southern Miss. Boy, Southern Miss. That's would that be a step back for Southern Miss and Hattiesburg to be playing in the Sun Belt? Could it be? I just dropped everything. Bear with me. Bear with me. Everything just took a nosedive. Give me a second here. And stuff falling all over the place here. Okay. Need to put the old phone in the case holder here, right? Do that now. Okay. So that's about it. Troy. How about Troy? Troy was known as Troy. Were they Troy College at one time? Troy State College. Troy State. Now they're Troy University. Just Troy. No state on the end of it. ULM is Louisiana Monroe, I believe. University of Louisiana Monroe. Troy. The Troy Trojans in the Western Division of the Sun Belt. So is Texas State. Southern Miss. South Alabama. Louisiana Raging Cajuns and Arkansas State. I would say Southern Miss is a program that they've done some big things. Brett Favre played quarterback there. There was 1 year back, I guess it was the late 80s or early 90s. I think it was the late 80s, actually, when Brett Favre played there. And Southern Miss beat Alabama, beat Auburn in the same season, and lost to Florida by 4 points. I think I'm close on those results. But Southern Miss is now in the Sun Belt Conference. It seems to me they would be in a higher league, but I don't know if it's a stadium issue with the numbers in the stadium, perhaps. But they're in the Sun Belt, which I think is a little bit of a lower mid-major, just my opinion. But those are the conferences. Those are basically all, I think, all the Division I teams, and the way the the landscape kind of rolls out. NIL, is out there now. I think the colleges can actually pay the players directly. Also, according to some stuff I heard from Paul Feinbaum. We'll take a look at North Florida entertainment. I'm getting a little interested in college football. John Gaylor told me, but I don't like the way college football's gone. I think John has a little bit of that in him too. Calling it a minor league. I think college football's been a minor league for the NFL for a long time anyway, but I mean, point blank minor league. The term student athletes, I don't know how many student athletes we got playing football now. That would be my question. And who owns college football? I think we know. The four-letter network. I'm going to be nice today. This has not been college football realignment. It's not been that. It's been major college football realignment with everything we just went over with the roadmap, including me dropping my phone a moment ago. So that's kind of what we got. Major college football realignment. The games will the Gators win? You got a prediction? Put them in the comments. We got comments on the YouTube page. If you're listening to us on audio, check us out on YouTube or the audio podcast. We're here everywhere. The Teal Shirt Report podcast. Go to our website, bigjreport.com. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital, the madmaxmix.weebly.com, LakeUpallahits.com, where JC has a live show live in the pub on Thursday nights. I got Mad Max on the scroll. Wait a second. No, I got the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp sweeping the doubleheader on the scroll, but I got Mad Max on a banner that you're seeing on the video screen talking about the madmaxmix.weebly.com. And Mad Max's show is Wednesday night, 6 till 8 Central Time, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The Mad Max Mix. .weebly.com. Max will play Skinnerd for you. Atlanta Rhythm Section. A lot of those groups, the original members have passed on. Max brings that music back to life during his show Wednesday nights on Mad Max's internet radio Wednesday night music request show at madmaxmix.weebly.com. Check Max's show out. He's got a lot of listeners in Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Michigan, and a lot of states kind of in between. So those are our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida, the madmaxmix.weebly.com. Mad Max's show on Wednesday nights. JC has a show the next night on Thursday nights at LakeUpallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good, where they have hits 2000s in the evening. Midnight rock, midnight Central Time, most every night during the week, I believe. Midnight rock, 12 midnight Central Time, which would be 1 a.m. Eastern Time. So you're going to get some rock. You're going to get the hits 2000s in the early evening. Bankers hours, Monday through Friday from morning to afternoon with LakeUpallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. You're going to get the recognizable and identifiable hits Monday through Friday from morning to afternoon. Basically, kind of the bankers or working hours. You own a business and you're open during the daytime. I take, tune LakeUpallahits.com on. LakeUpallahits.com. We've had it on our banner. It's on our website. There's links for LakeUpallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. In our Neighbors 2 section. The Mad Max Mix.weebly.com. Links for Mad Max's show in the Neighbors 2 section on our website at BigJReport.com. There's also an article about some of Max's, what he does on the show. You know what he does. If you've heard him before, you certainly do.